Hi, I'm Melinda Van Fleet, and welcome to the Confident Conversations podcast. I'm an author, speaker, and success coach who helps women believe in themselves, build confidence, and take action. This podcast shares authentic and transparent, thought-provoking stories, tips, and tools from my experiences, as well as incredible guests, so you can continue to build your confidence and live your best life. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's get started on this confidence journey. Real quick before we start this podcast, the book is live. My first solo book, Confidence Mastery for Couples, Roadmap to a More Intimate Relationship, is live on Amazon. The paper book and the ebook is up on Amazon, and the Audible will be coming shortly, so stay tuned. And make sure to sign up for my email list. You can access that through goodkarmasuccesscoach.com or melindavanfleet.com, and you will receive the free Believe and Take Action daily guide. I will be updating everyone on the email list in regards to future books. The next one will come out this summer, which is called Life in Love Lessons, and I am super excited. I already started writing it. Yay! So stay tuned. In the meantime, thank you so much for purchasing the book. And if you love it, I would appreciate a rating and review on Amazon. And always love it when someone shares and reaches out to me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Now on to the podcast. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's special bonus episode of Confident Conversations. I did a release yesterday morning, which is Wednesday morning, of an amazing conversation I had with Laura DeFranco, who was my writing coach, and she is the founder of Brave Healer Productions, which is also a publishing company, and she's just so gifted. She's written 19 books. Hello. I totally aspire to be like her and have that many books out there. So definitely check out that podcast if you haven't. I released it on both Confident Conversations and the Good Karma Success Coach because it was so fantastic and timely with the release of my book. So I wanted to share and inspire other people out there that may be thinking about writing a book, or, you know what, just taking action on something. Hello, how many of you are stuck? It's crazy. And I'm just like, please do something small for yourself, and then frickin' celebrate it. We all need to be celebrating, even if it's a baby step that you took today. One baby step. And it could be something like reaching out to someone to build a connection, listening to something, obviously this podcast, but something else, maybe a book, maybe taking action on something you read in a book as well, taking action on something in this podcast, whatever, celebrate it and continue to move forward. And that's what I wanted to talk about today, is just moving forward in celebration. And obviously I'm in a huge celebration, but at the same time, I'm still dealing with the daily things, the daily triggers, the daily things that can still upset me, because you know what? I'm human, just like you. And we all have things that we constantly have to work on. But when you start to become aware of what those things are and move through them and find the tools and use the tools and practice the tools to move through them, you begin to just feel better and operate at a much easier state in regards to taking that action and working towards your dreams and your goals. So yesterday, I had something that happened to me that just blew my mind. And I actually started writing about it this morning to have it as my closing chapter in the book I'm writing next, which is Life in Love Lessons, which will come out this summer. And I was like, how can I share this story? How can I share this story and make it not about my ego, not about being a victim, but sharing it to help others, because I recognize all the various layers that are involved in why this person did what they did. And that's what's important. And that's the teaching and that's the learning. And that's what I'm getting my arms around right now to share, to help others, because this is the shit that we all deal with. And unfortunately, this is the shit that keeps someone stuck or scares the bejesus out of them so they don't want to move forward and take the action, because then they're thinking to themselves like, oh my God, what if so-and-so does this? Or what if so-and-so doesn't show up? Or what if so-and-so says this? Yeah, all that can happen. It can all happen, and it can trigger you to make you stuck. But there are ways to move forward. There are ways to push through that and be able to take action towards your dreams. So there's a couple of things I wanted to share with that. Number one is the first mini course I'm working on that is in regards to triggers and moving through them. And the next 3 months are going to be mini courses about triggers. And if you are on my mailing list, I'm going to make the big announcement of the structure of it this coming Monday. So definitely sign up for my mailing list. And in general, I hope you're on it anyways, because I'm going to be working more and more towards like different bonuses and giveaways and fun things. I'm full of a lot of ideas, and I'm happy to share and want to share. I'm like, it makes me happy. So anyhow, and then number two is, you know what, just recognizing that you have to be the one to show up for your own party and be happy and celebrate that. Because, you know, going through this book launch, it was just like throwing a party. And I've thrown parties throughout the years. Heck, I'm almost 50, right? So I threw huge parties when I was in college, and I threw parties when I lived downtown Chicago. I threw parties when I lived in Ohio. I didn't throw any parties in New York City because it's a little different, and I had a teeny tiny apartment and not many friends. But then I threw parties when I moved to Columbus and Minneapolis. And when you start throwing a party, you probably have had this experience where, you know, maybe only a few people show up. And some people show up that said they were going to show up. And some people that said they were going to show up don't show up. And some people that never said anything show up. It's kind of becomes this mixed bag. But where people get stuck is they focus on, oh my gosh, what if the people don't show up? And they don't shift their mindset to the positive of all the people that do show up, because it's gray. Like, you don't know it at that time, right? You don't have a crystal ball to see who's going to show up and who's going to help and really be supportive and be a cheerleader. You like really start to focus on what might not happen, right? And I think that's just part of human nature. Unfortunately, our minds often go to the negative before they go to the positive. And that's why there's a lot of work involved in personal development, self-help, mindset training, all those things. And you have to really just keep focused on the positive and all the things that could happen. So as I was going through this book launch, a few days before the launch, you know, your mind starts to go, oh, is anyone going to buy the book? Is anyone going to leave a review? How's this going to work out? Am I going to get some type of status? Personally, I know this is a long game, so I'm not like, oh my gosh, I have to hit this and this and this because tomorrow I'm not going to work anymore on my book. No, this is like a business for me. This is a long game, and I'm going to be releasing many books. So I didn't hire a third-party hybrid publisher for those various reasons. And, you know, I had to keep going back to thinking about the parties that I've thrown throughout the years, and thinking about when I lived in Minneapolis. I moved there by myself. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know Ryan yet. And I had a party, and, you know, 4 people showed up. And then I lived there for 6 years. So I kept throwing parties. I kept throwing pool parties. I kept throwing a holiday party. And by my final party before Ryan and I moved to the Keys, I had so many people in our apartment that it was actually spreading out into the hallway, and we got in trouble. So just shows you that momentum over time in taking the steps in building your party, building whatever it is you're working on, it does work out in your favor. You just have to push through the uncomfortable thought processes and the triggers that can keep you stuck if you're focusing on the negative and what might not happen. So I am just over the moon with how things did work out, even though I had a couple rough things, and yesterday was definitely a rough day for me. But I kept focusing on the positive. I kept working on various things, various tools, various practices that I do to get me through that. And as I mentioned earlier in this podcast, I started writing a chapter, and that just helped release a lot of it too. So then what ended up happening, which is what I want to read to you, is I ended up picking up the local paper, and I knew an interview was going to come out this morning in our local paper, which is Keys Weekly. It's one of our local papers, and it's the one I write for as well. Once a month I have a column. And Charlotte Twine interviewed myself and even my husband last week. But I didn't know what the article would end up being like. I didn't know it would be long or short. Like, who knows, right? When you get interviewed from someone, unless I'm sure you're a big name, like for the most part, you say what you say and then you leave it up to them to write the article. So I was over the moon at how Charlotte showed up for the party, and Keys Weekly and Jim, the editor, and anyone else involved. They get total props as well. So I wanted to read the article because it's super fun. And if you don't know me, or maybe there's things you just don't even know, you've never heard some of this story before, I hope my sharing it really inspires you to move forward on something and move past any triggers that you may be having in regards to getting started on something that you really, really desire to work on in your life. So I'm going to read this article, and I hope you enjoy it. It made my day, and I just love sharing positive things, so I hope it helps you as well. Confidence Crushing It. Tavernier success coach, podcaster releases self-help book for couples. Melinda Van Fleet is on a winning streak with the release of her book, Confidence Mastery for Couples, on March 9th. Not only that, she's also restarting her Good Vibes personal development meetup group in Islamorada, which was on pause due to the pandemic. A Tavernier resident, Van Fleet's been a top performer as a sales rep of handbags and jewelry. She's also a confidence-building coach, helping many women reach their goals. Oh, and she's a podcaster running a show called Confident Conversations, as well as pitching in with her husband's podcast series about fishing. To top it all off, she's a loving mama to 3 adorable Shih Tzus. In other words, she's pretty badass. Discussing her book launch, Van Fleet was asked where she gets her energy for all these accomplishments. I go to bed early. There's really no secret there. I meditate a lot. But the future wasn't always so bright for Van Fleet and her husband, Ryan. In 2009, they hit a low point during the recession. I was laid off first in January. I was a senior buyer with a large retailer in Minneapolis, a television shopping network, a really good job. My husband was really struggling at work. He was a production control supervisor for a third-party manufacturer for Airborne. He was miserable. One day, I was watching Oprah thinking, I can't seem to get a job, and he's so miserable. What is he going to do? And on Oprah's show, this couple had both been laid off at the same time. As an intuitive person, I knew that was going to be us. I was like, I knew it. I knew it. Ryan was laid off in June 2009, and the couple mulled over their next move. They knew they had both wanted to leave Minnesota and live somewhere warm, with Ryan dreaming of being a sport fishing captain and Melinda curious about working in sales. Florida seemed like a good option. That 4th of July, on a whim, the couple went on vacation to clear their heads. We were like, let's get out of here. We went to Mexico for the week. We packed peanut butter and jelly, anything I could smuggle over the border. We basically prayed to the ocean gods. A couple said to us, you should just do it. Just move. You can figure it out. We came back and just decided to move. We put together an action plan to sell everything and move to Florida. Since 2009, the Van Fleets have gradually built their new life in Florida, with Melinda creating a successful sales career and personal coaching business, and Ryan finally achieving his dream to be a sport fishing captain with Good Karma Sport Fishing. But there were a few bumps along the way. Melinda remembers grumpy nights after being on the road with her sales job when her husband asked her after she got home late, "So, what's for dinner?" "Seriously? Melinda Van Fleet remembered thinking. I just drove in traffic. What are you talking about? So we had to learn communication. Thus, a book was born. Confidence Mastery for Couples, Roadmap to a More Intimate Relationship. I felt called to write a book based on my experience, she said, which is me. We started over from scratch, from nothing. That's really hard on a relationship. I wanted the book to be relatable. I wanted people to say, oh my gosh, this can help me too. In the book, Van Fleet uses humorous personal anecdotes, inspiring stories, and thought-provoking exercises to show how to nurture partnerships, business, love, and finances. Liz Huddleston is the owner of Isla Morada's Miss Monroe and Wild Lily Boutiques and has attended Van Fleet's Good Vibes meetup groups. Melinda is such a positive and inspiring person. She's a breath of fresh air in an increasingly negative world. She makes you feel like, if she can do it, you can too. Terry Lynn Murphy is an author, speaker, happiness coach, and corporate trainer. She points out that confidence mastery for couples is not just for couples. There are many great lessons that can be applied to any individual that wants to grow in a positive way, she said. But perhaps the proof is in the pudding. Ryan could not be happier with his relationship and his new life in Florida. I love my wife from the bottom of my heart. She really understands how to help me in situations and knows I'm struggling. I'm fortunate to know she's there for me. He said that in their old life in Minnesota, he would enjoy happy hour a little too much in order to seek relief from their problems. But Melinda taught him a new tool, meditation. I thought meditation was foo-foo magic, but I said, I'm going to try this, and things started to work out for me as far as being on the water. So did the couple ever smooth out those hangry fights about dinner? As always, Melinda's humor rises to the occasion. The best thing ever is Exit 2 in Homestead. There's a Chipotle, and now there's a Longhorn Steakhouse. Takeout saved our marriage. My book is available, blah, 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 and my next meetup is April 1st. Yay! So thank you, Charlotte, if you're listening to this podcast, and Jim and everyone at Keys Weekly. Very exciting. And just remember this story. If you are struggling and you feel no one is going to show up to your party, you may be so surprised at who ends up showing up. So take that step forward. Move through those triggers that you have, those stories you have going on in your head that no one's going to show up. No one's going to support you, and just take some action and move forward. I totally believe you can do it. Thank you so much for listening. I will put all the information in the show notes of how to connect with me, how to buy the book, and I would just love to hear from you. So I hope that this helps you build your confidence and have a great rest of your week. Thanks for listening.